do have the CEO of Trees now. All right, Marshall Hayner, I'll hand over the mic to him.
Sure. Thank you. It's up a little bit closer so you guys can hear me. So my name is Marshall Hayner. My company is called Trees. We're kind of like a little weird company here at the CoinCongress because we're a medical cannabis company. You're probably wondering, what does medical cannabis delivery app have to do with Bitcoin? Actually, a lot more than you think, or a lot more than most people think. So Gavin Andreessen said this a couple of years ago. Legal marijuana industries could possibly be one of the biggest industries for Bitcoin. It gives marijuana growers the way of changing customers that doesn't involve cash. And that's seriously the cannabis industry's biggest problem, is they have no banking partners. The industry right now is about $2.5 billion, and there's not a single banking partner in sight. M-Bank is a small community bank in Seattle, and they recently raised some venture capital, and they said, we're going to become the largest bank in cannabis, and we're going to support cannabis. But what ended up happening? They lost their master banking connection. They lost their ability to actually bank. So they had to shut down. And so everybody was kind of counting on them. So for anybody that's kind of out of the loop in cannabis, what's going on right now is just warehouses full of cash. Hundreds of millions of dollars just sitting in a warehouse. There has to be a better solution. I do believe that cannabis will be a bigger industry than big tobacco. Big tobacco right now is about $35 billion a year, and cannabis is only $2.5 billion. Only last year, we projected that cannabis would be at $10 billion by 2017, and now it's looking like cannabis will probably be at $10 billion by early next year. New projections have come out by the National Cannabis Institute that are positing projections for $30 billion by 2019, and still no banking partners. I can't think of a single industry in the United States that is in the double-digit billions or soon to be in the double-digit billions with no banking partners. Also, cannabis doesn't have any known deaths. There's about 6 million per year with tobacco, and you can see when cannabis actually has real therapeutic and real medical value, there's going to be a huge industry on this. It's not just the recreational value, but it's the research value, it's the scientific value. And so there's really no way to run these businesses without bank accounts, and that's what we need. The implications for introducing cannabis for pharmaceutical research, which is already happening in California and Colorado and Washington, but in other parts of the world, in other parts of the country, it's really stifled. We can't actually get access to good cannabis for the lab. The lab has to jump through hoops to get some really subpar products. How can we operate without bank accounts? How can we make these transactions and different things? And Bitcoin is just, by itself, is really a technology, but in its early phase, in its early form, is still too nascent to ask for the cannabis industry to adopt. This is an industry that came from the black market and went into the gray market, and now it's becoming white market, but these people don't know where to get bank accounts. They don't know where to turn to. And to ask these people in this industry to change and use a technology that's so new and so scary is just too much. I guess you're probably still wondering where Bitcoin fits into this, because I'm telling you that it doesn't work and nobody wants to adopt it in the cannabis industry. Where it all starts to fit in is there is a huge opportunity for people to come in and start to build technology platforms to allow people to bank through Bitcoin. You just have to obscure it away. You don't want to show people Bitcoin up front. It should be operating on the back end. It's basically the clearinghouse of the internet, and that's the way that I kind of see Bitcoin. We work with a partner called Trees works with a partner called Sarah. Tarek Lewis, the organizer of the SF Bitcoin Devs meetup. He recently started exploring this for his business, and it's exploded. They're doing really, really well. And we're using them as the payment rails, but we also accept Bitcoin directly. But we're slowly building out payment systems in our own internal way for our own company. And it's really going to be beautiful, because we wouldn't be able to operate without this. Without this, there's no bank, acquiring bank, that would even touch us with a 10-foot pole. And we have Bank of America as our banking partner, and they love us. But we've explained to them that we don't process profits from the plant through our own bank account, and that's why we're allowed to have it. Bitcoin can solve more than just cash problems. The previous presenter was talking about tokenized gift cards and this kind of thing. There is so much that can be done with the blockchain in terms of categorizing cannabis and proving that it came from the original factory where it was made, and signing all this with a private key, embedding it into the blockchain using tokenization. So it goes way beyond just money. The blockchain is this amazing tool for cannabis. This is about to be a $30 billion industry. They have no banking partners. They have no way to prove the authenticity of their cannabis besides centralized websites. This is where Bitcoin can really shine. And we've all been looking for an opportunity for Bitcoin to really do something amazing. Well, the cannabis industry is about to be a $30 billion industry, and they're looking for Bitcoin. They need Bitcoin, they just don't know it. So this talk is kind of weird, and I know that a lot of people are probably like, wow, this guy's really strange, and I'm not sure about anything he's saying. But in the words of Satoshi, if you don't believe me or don't get it, I don't have the time to try and convince you. Sorry. Oh, yeah. Questions? I'm sure there's lots of questions.
Yeah, I would think, the states of Washington or Colorado would want to protect their tax revenue on this. So you're saying they're not cooperating in any way with any type of banking support?
No, it's the federal banking system that's not cooperating. The state, on state level, the state is endorsing it. They're saying recreational cannabis is legal. They passed the law. They want it to happen. But it's the federal banking connection that they lose, that the bank will potentially lose. And this is so, there are lots of smaller banks, community banks, and different banks that want to jump into this, like MBank. MBank is a perfect example because I think they raised over like 10 or 20 million, and they had all these big plans, and they're talking to everyone in the cannabis industry, everybody's getting on board, and then it gets shut down. So it's not an issue of the states not wanting it. The states definitely want it. The states that have recreational cannabis, like Colorado, Washington, Oregon, they want it. California, we want it as well, but it's just, it's more of a federal issue.
So I'm from Seattle. I was talking to an investor not too long ago. He's trying to get the state of Washington to accept Bitcoin as a way to pay taxes.
Right.
To remove, one of those restrictions. And it seems like so that hasn't happened yet. I'm just curious if Colorado, California or Colorado have similar conversations going on. And then also on the customer side, why aren't customers given, ATMs so they can transact with the merchants and start?
Right. So people, when they come to the cannabis dispensary, it's already so painful. Because there's no cash payments. Some places will have debit card payments, but it's usually kind of weird. Some people are uncomfortable about swiping their, punching in their debit at the cannabis dispensary. It's really kind of hit or miss. But to ask someone to go, okay, come in through this metal detector, now go over to that machine, now download this app on your phone, there's going to be a QR code. We're at like 100 steps before they get to the window, and if I don't know anything about Bitcoin, I'm terrified. I'm like, I don't know what's happening. There's all these like money changing hands and like things beeping and whatever. It's scary for someone coming into Bitcoin, and it's already scary for someone coming into cannabis for the first time. Even somebody that knows exactly what they want in the store, it's kind of unnerving because you go through this metal detector and you have to come with cash, and you wait in line, you get to the counter, there's 300 items and there's 20 people waiting behind you, they're all tapping their foot. It's really uncomfortable, and we don't want to add, the industry doesn't want to add any more like friction than there already is. So it's got to be a system where it's like you don't actually know that Bitcoin is transacting, but on the back end, they should be able, the dispensary and the merchants should be able to get paid in Bitcoin if they want. But one of the problems with Bitcoin and paying merchants and that kind of thing is they don't want it. If the dispensary took $100,000, did $100,000 in sales in a week, and then all of a sudden Bitcoin dropped 10 to 15%, try explaining this to somebody the new merchant who just took the 100K. They are not going to accept that. They're going to say, this is unacceptable. What kind of bullshit payment system is this? But the reality is it's an amazing payment system, but we need to build the consumer software. We need to build the tools. And so that's one of the things we're working on at Trees, is we're building these tools. And my background is Bitcoin and cannabis. I created QuickCoins, like a Facebook integrated Bitcoin wallet my partner, Miko, created localbitcoins.com. So we have a lot of experience with payments and Bitcoin, that kind of thing.
Since the federal Congress has just passed an amendment that's going to change the law, and now allow them to business, what's the future for your organizations?
The thing is that even though like these laws pass and things change, it takes so long for the banks to come around. And we know this in Bitcoin. If people that are here in Bitcoin startups that have tried to pitch to banks that are going for the really after fintech, it is hard. Like the banks they'll take 5 years to integrate. So the talks start now, and a lot of the banks will acquire some of these companies, and they'll start working on the technology, but it's still going to take 5+ years. So while we're growing to $30 billion, who's going to be doing all this banking? It can't happen overnight, and even though the laws are changing now, and it's slowly happening, the political process takes so long, and the industry is not going to wait.
3 quick questions. One is, when do you think it'll be legal in California, recreationally? The second is, do you know what the projected tax revenue is nationwide when it is legal nationwide?
Right.
And lastly, why not use something like XRP instead of Bitcoin?
Right. So, the first question, you want to know when it's going to go legal. So we're voting in California next year on recreational marijuana. The reason why we don't have it yet, California is the largest agricultural state and grows more cannabis than any other state. The reason why we don't have it is because we have such a large growing community that they don't want it. If we go recreational, all it means for a lot of these guys is they're going to get paid less. They have to be better at their jobs. They have to be more specialized. And so it's kind of terrifying to say, okay, you're a cannabis grower, used to get $1,500 a pound, but next year you're going to get 100, 200. Like, okay, I'm out of business. So a lot of these people are voting against it. They're putting all their money and time, those up in Humboldt County and Marin and the grow communities, to rally against it. Don't let this go through. We need to keep the black market here and prices alive and high. And that's just the reality. That's something that's going on. Tax revenue is going to be absolutely ridiculous. Colorado, for example, did, I think it was like 200 million in sales in the last month, over $20 million in tax revenue from cannabis, and crime is down like 15%, and they have all kinds of funding that they didn't have before. In 2012, the federal, the DEA and the federal government, DOJ and IRS, came to raid Harborside Healthcare. They're the largest dispensary in the world here in Oakland. And when they went to raid them, the mayor and the police department, the fire department, they all banded up. They knew what was going on because they got the call in advance from the DEA to block off the roads. And they called Harborside and said, you're actually our #1 taxpayer here for the city of Oakland. You provide a lot of stuff. So we're just going to let you know right now, this is happening tomorrow, and how can we help you?
I'm not sure we have time for any more questions.
You guys can find me. I'll answer any questions after. I'll be in another room. So thank you guys.
Especially if you send him a tulip on Change 2.
Yeah, send me a tulip.
That's awesome about the local area helping them out there. I mean, the fact that medical marijuana or marijuana in general is classed as a Schedule 1 drug is terrifying. Not even cocaine is a Schedule 1 drug. So these changes definitely need to be had. So we actually are going on a break now, but keep in mind that during the break, the coffee break, there'll be a short one.